Get ready to feast, there's no mistake. Juicy beef, steak locks, oh yeah. Parlays and blocks, we're taking it, yeah. Sizzlers and sauteed skewers, that's all, yeah. Boy, MMA igniting the flame.
Let's go, boys. Back in the grill, and it's UFC 297 already. Meat Boy from Canada, Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. One with a lot of associated beef, but last week finally was the return of the UFC, the 2024 return of Meat Boy MMA. And how do we do? You went 4-1. I went 3-2, and it was another easy, light work, solid Meatlock from our boy Marcus McGee, Marcus Meatlock. So what are your thoughts on Marcus McGee kicking off 2024's Meatlock, right?
Yeah, no, Marcus McGee, once again, is a lock. I mean, those Arizona boys are no joke. I mean, Sugar Sean is coming up soon, which we're very excited to see what he can do if he can get that W back from Cheeto. But, you know, Mr. McGee, I mean, it was right there, right in front of us. He is I would say, at least a top 10 contender. You know, no one's heard of him. He's been mauling everybody over there on the west side, and I'm excited to see what he can do. His grappling is insane. His power and striking looks insane, and I don't even think people realize on how good his grappling is yet, unless you look at the regional scene.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't even think that I thought he demonstrated more of his striking prowess against Gaston Bolaños, and he didn't even really have to lean on his grappling as much as maybe he has in previous fights. So if you're new to the McGee party, then you didn't really even get to see all of what he can do there for sure. But he made light work, got us our 90th Meatlock, keeping 2024 going strong. And, I mean, some other solid action. I thought Phil Hawes was going to beat Bruno Ferreira. He got absolutely slept. Ricky Simon versus Bautista, you caught some of that fight. I was a little bit surprised that Mario Bautista got that unanimous decision. Any takeaways from what you saw in that fight?
You know, I was sizzling, cooking some steaks, and you know, just pumped about the meat locks, chilling and grilling, and I thought Ricky Simon was absolutely mauling him. Every time I looked, I mean, he picked him up 20 feet over his head and just dropped him, and just had top control for a couple minutes. Was doing good work on the feet. I mean, you know, he had his opponent bloodied up. Like, every time I looked, it was just Ricky dominating. And then I finished eating my sizzling steaks fresh off the grill, and what? He lost? Unanimous? Like, what? Come again? Not like this. So that was truly unfortunate. But yeah, I was very surprised. No, I was just saying that was truly unfortunate. Very surprised on that one.
Yeah, unanimous decision across the board. A couple 30-27s, one 29-28. So judges favored the damage for Bautista in that one. And another Arizona boy trains with Marcus McGee, actually. So as a dog, pretty cool. Huge win for Bautista, but definitely close for sure, and definitely a slobber knocker. And then Jim Miller, as we predicted out here, actually wins by third-round finish. And then the main event, Magomed wins second-round finish over Johnny Walker. What were your thoughts on that one? And is Magomed next in line? And if so, is he gonna be next champ?
How Magomed won was exactly what I think he needed to get that next shot in line. I just always thought that was just crazy how people were kind of falling off the bandwagon, saying, "Oh, he's boring. Oh, he sucks." Like, it's like after his knockout versus the Hulk, everybody was high on him, and then everyone was like, "Oh, he's really not that good. He played a point fight versus, this guy and that guy." Well, looks like he's back, and Magomed is coming for that belt because he is a meat lock as always. But we're never going to see good odds, so you know it's just a little. Those type of odds you just can't really touch, in my opinion. But Magomed is always a meaty one.
Yeah, tough odds to work with last week for sure. We actually said under 2.5 as well, so the second round finish would have checked that box as well. So some pretty good stuff from the Meat Boys in both the co-meat and the meat event. But yeah, Uncle Ive might be next in line for sure. And you wonder what the odds. Let's assume that it would be Pereira still as the champ at that point. You wonder what the odds for a Pereira versus Magomed showdown might look like. Could be a true pick'em, and would be a pick'em for me because that's two of the scariest dudes going at it, and probably one of the most anticipated matchups of 2024, assuming Magomed, or rather assuming maybe it's Pereira versus Jamal Hill next, and who even knows how that one's going to go down. But a lot of fun stuff at 205 for sure, and at this one, it's 185, UFC 297. You ready to get this one going, and should we kick it off with the Meatlock again?
Oh, 100%. We're absolutely going to kick off the Meatlock again. And, the Meatlock is an absolute lock. Once again, we're going back-to-back this week. We're starting 2024 off strong and ready.
Yeah, back-to-back strong and ready, and Air Jourdain is the one to do it in this one. It is a UFC 297 Canadian Meatlock, and it's a Canadian fighter to take down the mantle in this one. Charles Jourdain, 6-5-1 in the UFC, isn't the greatest record, but he's always faced the toughest of the tough guys, and his losses are only two serious killers. Andre Fili, Nathaniel Wood, lost that close controversial one to Shane Burgos, and then got randomly slept by our boy Juicy J, but nonetheless, Jourdain, against other guys that aren't necessarily in that top 10, top 12 echelon, he's gone through them light work. And against the sniper Sean Woodson in this one, who you have to respect, he is 5-1-1 in the UFC. It's one of those matchups where the bottom of the rankings are meeting in the middle, and Charles Jourdain is going to put a swift halt to any momentum that the sniper Sean Woodson has. So what are your thoughts on this one? 10-1-1 is Sean Woodson. 5-1-1 is the UFC, is his record, but we're going with Jourdain as our Meatlock. So what do you like about Air Jourdain?
Yeah, what I like about Air Jourdain is that he's a lock. Once again, we're always riding him in the meat stick realm here, and I like this style matchup. I think Woodson is very brittle, very small compared to Jourdain. He's lanky, he's long, but he's going to be too slow. Jourdain is so strong. Jourdain's grappling is pretty darn good. So if he doesn't get the better of him on the feet, Jourdain's going to take him to the ground and absolutely decimate him. But I just think Jourdain's going to get a finish, TKO, KO, submission. There's no way this goes the distance. The way Jourdain fights, he is going to take this guy out, put him to sleep one way or another.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising, and it's what we just saw from Jourdain when he fought most recently, and it was performance of the night. It was against Ricardo Ramos, and it was a first-round, easy, light work guillotine choke submission against a tough black belt in Ricardo Ramos. So very impressive stuff from Jourdain, and we have seen Sean Woodson have some deficiencies on the mat. I mean, we think back to many years back, but when he fought Juicy J himself, shout out Debbie, he got submitted easy light work. So if Juicy J can submit you, then I think Jourdain might be able to do the same, but nonetheless, in this one, Tapology's with the Meat Boys as well. 83% is rolling with the Canadian, 17% is rolling with the Sniper. A lot, though, is going for the decision for Air Jourdain. Any chance Woodson survives 15, or would you be bullish on the Air Jourdain finish?
No, I'm pretty bullish on the Air Jourdain finish. The pace he fights at, he's an absolute Spartacus, massive monster. He's going to be so much bigger, I think way faster, definitely way stronger, and it's going to be KO, TKO, or submission. I'm pretty darn confident in this one. He usually puts people out anyway, and Sean Woodson, this is an absolute layup to get Jourdain back in the win column. That guy is a bum.
Yeah, it would keep the win streak nice and alive for Air Jourdain and keep him inserted in those fun conversations in the division, and we'll see what sort of fight Sean Woodson can put up against him. But nonetheless, we're going with Air Jourdain for the Meatlock. I'm with you. I like the finish, although I do think that a decision might materialize. Maybe there's a pathway for Sean Woodson to survive, similar to how he did against Luis Saldana, even though that ends up in a split draw. But Jourdain, obviously the Meatlock, keeping it simple, throwing down 190. It's going to net 100, get us that 91st Meatlock, second in a row, keep us undefeated in 2024, and transition ourselves nicely into this next contest first with Powerbar and Chris Curtis. So any last thoughts?
No, this is a lock nonetheless. And yeah, let's get over to the Power Bar and Mr. Milkman.
It's middle meat in this one, Meat Boy, and we got my boy, the Power Bar. Gatineau, Canada's finest, is taking on the action man. You might know him also as the Milkman, Chris Curtis, who is 4-2-1 in the UFC, and he's lost. I mean, he hasn't lost 3 of his last 4, but he hasn't won in 3 of his last 4 contests. And the most recent one we saw was against Nasruddin Imavov in a fight that he probably was about to lose, but then ultimately there was a accidental clash of heads, ultimately ends up as a no contest, and provides him with maybe an escape route in that contest. And before that fight, he lost to Gastelum. He picked up a win against Buckley in between that, and then obviously he lost that debilitating fight against Jack Hermanson where he got the co-meet opportunity and just totally got outclassed by the Joker on the feet in that one. So he's taking on Powerbar in this one, who, again, is 5-5-1 in the UFC, but he's won 3 of his last 4 and is riding a 2-fight win streak. Most pronounced when he fought Eric Anders last summer, where he picked up fight of the night, easy light work unanimous decision for him. And to get that win after sleeping the Cuban Missile Crisis was a sign of good things and realized success for Powerbar. Because if we remember, when this dude debuted all the way back in 2019, they were saying he was the heir apparent to GSP. He was the next Canadian face of MMA, and now Mike Malott is fighting two spaces in front of him. So what are your thoughts on this one? Is this the opportunity for Powerbar to really cement his legacy in front of the Canadian crowd? Or at about a minus 200 favorite, is the Milkman going to come over here and just sleep the Powerbar?
Yeah, this is such a good fight, and I'm mind blown that Mr. Milk is this big of a favorite. I gotta take Powerbar on this. Those odds are just too juicy, and Powerbar's been looking pretty darn sharp, and I think this match is pretty good. Powerbar isn't going to try to grapple him. He's going to try to slugfest him. He's going to mix it up, do mixed martial arts, maybe pin him across the cage, throw in the clinch. He's going to do it all. Maybe he does grapple him, but Milkman is just a boxer. He doesn't kick. He doesn't check kicks. He doesn't. He actually has very good wrestling defense. I will give him that. But beyond wrestling defense and his hands, which his hands are mediocre at best, the Milkman is for sure going to be spoiled after this weekend because he's going to be out of the fridge for too long.
Yeah, and that is just what happens, as a result of being outside of that cooler. But nonetheless, I mean, he's about a minus 190 favorite. Tapology also is bullish on the Milkman. 82% is rolling with Chris Curtis. Majority is brown for the KO. So they think that the Powerbar is getting dunked in the milk, so to speak. But only 18% is rolling with Marc-Andre. Do you see a pathway for Chris Curtis to pick up a finish over Marc-Andre Barriault? And do you think that all that Tapology brown is justified? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because, I mean, Powerbar doesn't get slept too often. I mean, I know Chidi and Joe Kuwani slept him in 2022, but beyond that, that's the only time he's been finished by strikes in the UFC. So is the Milkman going to knock him out?
There's no way Milkman's knocking him out. I mean, he is the Powerbar, which, Powerbar, he's eating those every day. He's getting stronger and stronger. Well, Milkman's just drinking spoiled milk. He's having hissy fits versus Jack Hermanson. He's having sissy fights online with trolls. The dude's 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and he's just trying to be a boxer. He's trying to fight Connor next in a boxing arena and try to be the next Floyd, but he's not Floyd. He's just a Milkman. So Powerbar's going to win this, in my opinion, dominantly. I don't think he's going to finish him. Chris Curtis is a very hard person to finish. I will give him props where props are due. He's a tough man. But I think Powerbar is going to beat him wherever this fight goes. Unanimous domination.
Yeah, I buy that. I'm right with the Powerbar as well. I like him to win a decision in this one. And, you mentioned they're probably going to go strike for strike, but I also see a world where Powerbar mixes it up because, again, Chris Curtis' skills are somewhat limited. And while, yes, he is an elite striker, he's an elite boxer, that is what they're limited to. And Powerbar can really mix it up, can make it ugly, make it grimy. Maybe he closes distance, uses the cage a lot, and finds a way to make it a true MMA contest against the Milkman. And if so, I mean, if Chris Curtis takes this L, then perhaps it's not too unreasonable to think that at some time in 2024, we get the Milkman versus Jake Paul in some sort of boxing fiasco. But nonetheless, I'm taking Powerbar. I'm going to take him by decision. And sounds like a juicy dog to start things off, Meat Boys. So in the next one, I mean, we got Arnold Allen and Evloev. You ready?
Oh, absolutely. This is an absolute banger nonetheless.
Bantamweight beef in this one, and I'm curious to see, Meat Boy, who you're going to go with, because Movsar Evloev is 17-0, and the last time we saw him, let's kind of recap a little bit. He's 7-0 in the UFC and has basically dominated everyone, but the last time we saw him fight, it was against Diego Lopez, and Diego Lopez had his debut where he almost basically won the fight against Evloev and threatened him more than anyone else has throughout his UFC tenure, but in that one, ever since we've seen Diego Lopez debut, he's just been dominating everyone. So Diego Lopez is absolutely no joke, but it was interesting, I guess, to see Movsar Evloev appear human for once, because while, yes, he won the fight, it was close, it was back and forth, and he had some dangerous moments. So I want to know if against Arnold Allen, who at 19-2 and a guy who went on a double-digit UFC win streak, if it's going to look a lot like it did against Diego Lopez for Evloev, because Arnold Allen, again, is as tough as they come. He has wins over Calvin Kattar, Dan Hooker, Sadiq Youssef, who's on an absolute tear, and had some early nice wins before that as well. So what are your thoughts on this one? Evloev, 17-0, still undefeated, and is about a minus 160 favorite against, or minus 190 favorite against the plus 160 Allen. So who are you going with?
Yeah, no, this is such a crazy fight, fun fight. This is a fight for the sweaties and the hardcores. It doesn't get much higher level fighting than this. I mean, S tier, top tier grappler Evloev versus Arnold Allen, who is an absolute lunatic. I mean, this guy is a lunatic in the gym, in the weight room, out in the streets, you name it, in the cage. Dude's a savage. And those are some juicy odds. I mean, we won't see those unless he fights Max Holloway, which we saw how that went. But it feels like also every time someone fights Max Holloway and gets humbled, they bounce back 2, 5, 10 times harder. So this might be a nice little upset because, like you said, Evloev looked human that last fight versus, day one notice versus Lopez. So, and Lopez is a savage, so he's got skill. So it's not really that, but it's just surprising to see such a absolute animal get almost submitted and beaten on a day one guy. So I think Arnold Allen is definitely going to see those weaknesses and those holes in the game. Arnold Allen is so dang strong. If anyone can match Evloev's strength, it's going to be this guy. So I got to go with the underdog, Arnold Allen. Absolute savage.
Yeah, good stuff. And if you're still getting plus 160, plus 150-ish value for Almighty all in Arnold Allen, then I agree with you. I think that those are some juicy odds for sure. I mean, if you look over at Tapology, the odds, according to them, have even narrowed a little bit to where Almighty Allen is closer to plus 135 now, Evloev at minus 165, and another insight from Tapology that kind of struck me was this is one of those rare ones, Meat Boy, where Vegas is leaning on Evloev. They see that Russian last name. They see that 17-0 undefeated record, and they're flocking to Mavzar, but 61% is rolling with Almighty Allen when it comes to the Tapology metrics, and majority is beige on both sides. If you're picking Allen, do you agree with Tapology? Do you think that a decision is most likely? And is there a world also where Evloev wins a decision?
It will not surprise me if Evloev gets a gritty decision like he always does. He always grinds them out. He always tires them out. He always wins by decision, smothering. He does his game. He's like the Khabib of this division. That's what it feels like so far. But I'm not sold until he starts getting through some of these higher level guys, not a day one Lopez, So if he can get through Arnold Allen very easily, I feel bad for anyone else that has to fight this guy's grappling, to be honest, because Arnold Allen is no joke in the grappling department. He is no joke in strength. His striking lacks a little bit, as it showed in Max Holloway, but Max Holloway is the best boxer in the UFC, so no shame in that for going toe-to-toe with him and going, the distance. So I don't know. It's going to be a close fight, that's for sure, but I'm a juicy odds guy, and when you see plus 160 with a savage like Arnold Allen, you have to ride it. So I'm taking Arnold Allen with a big upset, and I'm just not sold yet on the Evloev, but I'm open-minded to that option.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%, and I do think that whoever wins this fight, I don't know if they'll be next in line for a title fight, but they would be on the short list of deserving challengers for sure, and one guy will sort of catapult themselves into that stratosphere, so to speak, because it's a tough division, and there's killers top to bottom, so when two killers face off against each other, we'll see who the number one GOAT is for sure, but I'm with you, Meat Boy. I'm going to take Arnold Allen. I like those juicy dog odds, and you touched on the striking. I think he actually might have a striking advantage in this one over Evloev, because it was interesting. Holloway versus Arnold Allen, there was a clear striking discrepancy, and in this one, I think that there could be a clear striking discrepancy between Arnold Allen and Mavzar Evloev as well, and if Arnold Allen is able to stiff-arm the Russian and keep this fight on the feet, especially early, then I like Arnold Allen's counter-striking and ability to just sort of outclass Mavzar while there to be enough to get him a victory. Maybe not a finish, because, we have never seen Mavzar lose, let alone expect him to go get finished, but I like Arnold Allen as a dog to probably win a decision this one. So You guys have to let us know in the comments if we're tripping on this one. Are we missing the Mobzar meat and should be easy light work for Evloev, or you taking the juicy dog and Arnold Allen as well? But anything else on that one, me boy?
No, I think you hit it right on the money. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Is this a juicy steak sizzler for the boys, or is Evloev truly the GOAT?
Third from the top, it's a great opportunity for Mike Malott to keep his hot UFC start and streak alive, but he's taking on Neil Magny, the OG veteran, always classy Neil Magny, who is just the prototypical levels test for anyone in this division. If you want to make those next advances and take your career to the next level, then Magny is always the true test to go up against. But he's 12-7 in the UFC, has been alternating wins and losses since 2022, and most recently he fought against Ian Gary in a fight that was pretty similar to this one in an unknown prospect prodigy, so to speak. And he didn't get past Ian Gary in that one. Ian Gary made it look kind of easy, but we also know Ian Gary trains with the best guys in the world and is truly well-rounded, has the it factor. You can honestly see it when he fights versus Mike Malott, who has been looking impressive. He's 10-1-1. He's beat a lot of cans in the UFC, and I don't think, I mean, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he has that same obvious visual star power that Ian Gary has. Like, when I watch Mike Malott, I'm not thinking that this guy could be a future champ within the next 18 months or so. So what are your thoughts on this one? Mike Malott has been undefeated in the UFC. These are the names he's taken out, though. He beat Shimon Smaritsky on the Contender Series, whoever that is, and then he debuted against Mickey Gall, truly terrible, got that first-round finish against him, beat Johan Lamas, the fellow Canadian, in that one, and then most recently he actually made it to a second round, which usually he's winning in the first round against the cans that he is fed, but Adam Fugit took him into the second round, and Mike Malott started to, I don't want to say fake gas, but it looked like he was stressed out in that second round and was elated to get that guillotine and get the heck out of there, because it maybe, I don't want to say it was going to go south for him, but the gas tank was starting to wane. So what are your thoughts on this one? If Mike Malott has any sorts of cardio issues 7 minutes into a fight, do you think that this could be dangerous against a guy like Neil Magny, who doesn't get finished and can fight 15 or 25 minutes basically as long as he wants to? What are your thoughts on this one? Plus 270 is Magny, 370 Mike Malott. Are you taking the juicy Canadian?
Man, this card feels almost like a dog card because, like you said, these odds for Magsty are absolutely insane. The Canadian hasn't really fought anyone, and Magny truly is a absolute, he's an absolute savage, and no one beats him unless you're the real deal. So either Mike Malott is the real deal, or he's a bum. He's going back to Canada. I don't know, but I got to take Neil in this one. I just think there's no way Neil's getting finished. Nobody finishes Neil. I mean, Ian Gary decimated him and still couldn't take him out. Are you saying this guy's better than, Ian Gary? Ian Gary, even though he has his issues with the online world and whatever's going on there in his family, the dude's a savage. He is the real deal when it comes to, this division. And he destroyed Neil Magny. Neil Magny's beaten a lot of good guys. And I just don't see it. This is definitely a levels test, a big step up in competition. I'm rooting for Mike, but I don't see it. I don't know. I think those odds plus 270 for the Magny, man, I don't know. There's just too much opportunity here in juicy beef to ride these dogs, and I think this is one of those ones that's going to ride pretty nicely.
Yeah, it might for sure. And again, Malott is about minus 340, plus 270 is Neil Magny. But if we look over at Tapology, Mike Malott, they're pretty bullish on. He's 85%, 15% is roll with Magny. And one thing I was a little bit surprised by, there's a fat majority rolling with the Mike Malott by submission. So if Malott is to pick up a win, justify his minus 340 Vegas standing, would you think that a submission over Magny would be most likely?
To me, no. But unless I'm missing something and I didn't know that Mike Malott is better than Gilbert Burns or any of these grapplers that Magny's already fought, then I'll be shooken. But I just don't see it. That's just crazy to me. That's ludicrous. It's going to be a KO if anything, but no one puts out Magny, so probably not. It's probably be a decision. Either way, these guys are winning by decision. If there is a finish, it's Magny with that pace, and Mike gasses out. That's my only guess. Mike does not fight with beautiful technique or beautiful art striking. He's a wild man. He's a brawler. He's a tough kid, and he throws bombs. But I think Magny will be more of a tacticianer and be more, tactical on his approach. And he should be able to get this done by just being a grizzled vet. To be honest, like that's how I see it. He's gonna pull a Jim Miller, be an absolute grizzled vet, and get this done pretty easily.
Yeah, and if he looks anything like Jim Miller did last week, then that could be a fun time for the Haitian sensation. But perhaps maybe the Tapology submission Maylot backers are pointing to Magny's 3 UFC submission losses. But if you really inspect those, I mean, he got submitted by Dos Anjos, got submitted by Gilbert Burns, then he got submitted by Shavkat. So it's like, is Mike Malott in the conversation with Shavlock and Gilbert Burns? I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, if he is, but I'm with you all the way, Meat Boy. I know we're kind of tailing dogs throughout these breakdowns, but I think that there's some serious life for Magny, even at 36, to come through with something in this one against Mike Malott. And maybe it's a late finish. Maybe by the time that third round starts, Mike Malott's going to be truly gassed and can be an opportunity for the Haitian sensation to do some damage in the third round and maybe pick up a finish or just grit out some sort of unanimous decision where he's winning the second and third rounds. But I'm not going to be placing Haitian sensation in any parlays, but as far as a straight bet and as far as for Meat Boy's concerned, I'm taking him in this one over Mike Malott. But the Canadian meatheads, the Canadian Meat Boy MMA fans will have to let us know if we're missing Mike Malott, if he truly is the Mike Mallock, and he's a lock in this one that we're sort of missing. But I sort of think it's closer to Mike Maylock, Logan Paul's boy, and as opposed to a Mike Mallock. So any last thoughts on this one?
No, 100%. It's either a Mike Meatlock or a Mike Maylock. So throw in the comments who you take and why. And is it a lock or is it a Maylock?
In what has to be my most anticipated UFC title fight of the year, Meat Boy, it is Mayra Bueno Silva taking on Rocky Pennington for the vacant 135 strap. And obviously this is one with a ton of heat on it. Everyone's been clamoring for this fight between Rocky and Mayra Bueno, and right away, Mayra Bueno Silva was 5-2-1 in the UFC. Most recently, we saw her pick up a ninja choke, but ultimately she failed a drug test, popped for some Ritalin, and that was switched to a no contest. But it was a 4th straight victory for her on the books prior to the overturned result, and it was enough for the UFC to warrant giving her a title shot in this one against Rocky Pennington, who they sort of couldn't ignore anymore because she kept winning fight after fight. And while, yes, they were close decisions, she even picked up a nice finish over Macy Chasson. She won 5 straight fights in a row, and the UFC was like, all right, fine, Bueno Silva we think is a worthy challenger. Rocky Pennington is going to have to be the other side of the bill. Stick it as a co-meet event on a Sean Strickland card and call it a day. So the strap's on the line. 2 absolute bangers, the 2 women we've been just dying to see. You taking Pennington or you taking Bueno Silva?
Yeah, I've literally been waiting all year, you guys, all freaking year just for this fight. Not for Strickland, not for all the other people we just broke down, but for this one. Pennington versus Silva. This is just an absolute clash of warriors here. Absolute slobber knocker, absolute banger. I mean, who is going to take the reins of retired Nunes? I'm very excited to see. So torn. I think I'm gonna go with Pennington. I'm gonna keep riding the dogs. The parlay. I'm definitely riding a parlay. There's just so much juice and so much beef to be made. And like you said, the UFC just could not deny Pennington anymore. She's a grizzled vet. She's nonstop winning. And Silva, she's off the Adderall. She's stunned, doing all these other weird stuff. I don't think she's gonna have the upper edge this time. So I got to take Pennington by decision.
Yeah, interesting stuff for sure. She is a slight dog, around plus 140-ish. Minus 170 is Bueno Silva. And if you look at Tapology, they're pretty bullish on Bueno Silva to get this one done. 77% of Tapology is rolling with the Brazilian fighter, and majority is copper for that sub. 23% is rolling with Rocky. It's basically all beige, so they think that Rocky has a chance to win a decision in this one. I'm curious to see what Rocky Pennington looks like in the 4th and 5th round, because this is a woman who fights all the time, obviously. She has gone almost the distance when she got the last title opportunity against Amanda Nunes, and she went 5 rounds, got slept in that 5th round. But I'm curious now, 4 or 5 years later, what is she going to look like in that 5th round if it gets there? And on the same side, what will Buena Silva look like in the 5th round? Because she's someone who usually wins fights early and often. So if this hits the later stages, this could be a sloppy, drag him out, absolute snoozer of a co-meet. But nonetheless, I'm going to go Buena Silva. I think she does find a way to pick up a win in this one. And if Rocky is able to get this one done, that wouldn't be the most surprising thing. But I do think this would be a pretty forgettable fight if Rocky is the one getting this one done. Whereas if Buena Silva pulls it off, maybe she has some cool choke. Maybe she gets some sort of gnarly TKO. But nonetheless, obviously some hyperbole in this one. Probably not looking forward to this one, but I'm going to take Buena Silva. I'll go by submission. Any last thoughts on this one?
No, it wouldn't surprise me. No, these both are the best of the best in the UFC for this weight division. And you guys better stay tuned. I cannot wait for this weekend. Been waiting all year.
Let's go, Meat Boy. It is the meat event. It's the one that we actually have been looking forward to, and a first middleweight title fight of 2024, and one that has some serious heat on it. DDP, Dricus du Plessis, is trying to stay undefeated in the UFC, is finally getting his shot, and the expectation was that it would be against Izzy, but obviously Sean Strickland went into enemy territory as about a plus 700 dog and shocked the world, took the belt from Izzy, and now he's fighting DDP to make his first title defense. And obviously these guys have been going at it pretty hard in the media, and most recently at the last event in Vegas. They started throwing fists already, so what are your thoughts on this one? Don't even need to jump too far deep into the resumes because obviously if you made it this far, you are well familiar with both these guys. But it's basically a pick-up, Meat Boy. Sean Strickland is a slight favorite. He just put on the masterclass, masterful performance of all performances. But Dricus du Plessis has been doing the same, and he just got performance of the night in his most recent fight against Robert Whittaker in a fight that basically everyone counted him out in. So in this one, you taking the slight dog in DDP, or is Sean Strickland coming in angry going to show Dricus that he's just not ready for this?
You know, this is a fight I feel like we've been talking about for a while now, even before the UFC or anyone. And I just think DDP is built different. You know, he has a lineage of absolute savages down there in Africa, and him and his little bro, they've just been mauling people in the UFC. So I think he's going to do the same thing to Strickland. He struck a nerve, it seemed to be. I forget what exactly it was about, but it seemed that Strickland hasn't been handling it too well. So I think that's going to be a big factor. And DDP's all business, you know what I'm saying? So I think he's going to go in there, win the fight. He's so bad, he's good. That's what's bizarre. I don't want him to win. I hope Strickland does win. But I said it before, I'll say it again. He's so bad, he's going to win. He did this to Robert Whittaker. He did this to everybody in the UFC. Everybody in the UFC is 10 times better than this guy. But somehow, he always wins. And with that logic, he shall be champ. So I'm very excited for this one. This is a fun fight. Should be a funny, no matter what. If Strickland wins, it's going to be a funny mic right after that fight. But this is just crazy build-up. I'm excited to see how this plays out. I don't even know if we're going to get to the fight, to be honest. Like, that's how crazy the tension is between these two guys. Hopefully, they do not let these guys sleep near each other in the same hotel. Like, that would just be crazy. So, it'll be very interesting to see. Very excited for this fight, though.
Yeah, the tension is serious. We have been talking about this hypothetical for a long time, and I don't know much about the lineage, so to speak, but I do agree with you when you say that Dricus du Plessis is one of the worst fighters, yet is also is one of the best fighters around, because it's tough to, obviously we joke on the guy, but I mean, what he did against Whittaker was nothing short of amazing, and for you to pick up a finish against Robert Whittaker, regardless of how it might look, I mean, the outcome is basically all that matters, and it was another finish for du Plessis, and he got his nose fixed. That was part of the narrative going into that Bobby Knuckles contest, and with that new nose, he showcased a new ability to breathe, and in so doing, I thought looked the best that he has so far throughout his UFC tenure, but he's always looked sloppy. He's always kind of just like YOLOing out there seemingly, but it's controlled chaos from his end, and when guys aren't able to finish him, even though he often looks like he's flirting with the other side, it's bad news once they realize that, holy cow, this dude is a dog. He's not going anywhere, and I don't know if it's going to look like that against Sean Strickland, so to speak, because I think any intangible that you associate with DDP, you could also attach to Sean. I mean, the guy has cardio for days, loves to fight, is an absolute dog, and isn't going to be someone who is afraid in there. But you did touch on the sort of mental warfare that's ongoing, and one thing that Sean Strickland does is he's usually getting into guys' heads. I mean, going into that Izzy fight, Izzy was pretty quiet. He wasn't saying much. And I think a lot of the media takeaway was that, oh, this dude is just so dialed. He's so locked in. He's truly so not worried about Sean Strickland that you can't infiltrate his mind. But in that fight, I mean, I don't want to say that Sean broke Izzy, but it kind of looked like he did. So you wonder if those mental games that Sean was playing on Izzy did play into it. And if so, DDP seemingly is a guy that can't be shook. It seems like Sean is very used to getting under guys' skin, but with DDP, he can't seemingly, and then it kind of reverses on itself where DDP then starts to get in Sean's head. So what are your thoughts on the psychology involved in this one, and do you really think that Sean's going to come in, maybe not necessarily scared, but off focus, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't think scared. I don't think Sean's scared of anybody except for maybe one person in his life. But I think that he's just gonna be so off his game that from the beef of that was stirred in the stew in previous months, that he's just gonna be in a different area. He's gonna be built off of rage. He's not gonna be focused. Honestly, if Sean wins and he dominates like he did to Izzy, I will be very impressed, because not only is he a lunatic, but he's a smart lunatic because he can compose himself. I don't know. He seems so wild right now and unhinged that I just don't see him being focused and calm. I think he's gonna honestly. I just hope, Herb Dean really pats him down to make sure that there's only gloves and shorts in that octagon, because the stuff he's been saying is pretty wild. And but DDT is ready. He's ready for anything. He sucks so bad that no matter what, he'll probably still win. It's just so crazy to me that this guy's even fighting for the title. The fact that he beat Whitaker, and I don't know what's more impressive: Sean Strickland beating Izzy because he talked about his dog and it took Izzy off his game, which doesn't make any sense, or Whitaker peak, the best in the world besides Izzy, and DDP made him look like a rookie. I don't know what's more impressive, but I guess these are the new era, these are the new wave, the two new GOATs. Who's gonna win? Who's number one? Who's forever number two?
Yeah, good stuff. We will definitely find out who's number one, who's number two, and I'm glad you touched on all the beef stirred in the stew, because, again, there's a lot going on in this title fight for sure. But Tapology, it's pretty split. 54% is rolling DDP. A lot of brown for the KO, so they think that Sean Strickland's getting slept in this one. 46% is rolling Sean Strickland. Majority base for the decision. Give me a pathway for both guys. If you're picking DDP, do you agree with Tapology and he's picking up a KO in this one, or do you see him getting its decision? And on the flip side, Strickland's still a favorite, so a lot believe that he's going to get this one done. What's Strickland's best pathway to victory?
I think there's a 0% chance that DDP wins by decision. I think there's a 80% chance that if it goes a decision, it will be Sean Strickland. Sorry, I meant 100% chance because I already said a 0%. But and then I think Strickland maybe could get a sneaky TKO. I mean, he did almost put out Izzy. But Dricus seems like he's got an absolute chin, but no one's really tested it, I feel like. I've never seen Dricus rocked. Either people test it and we just don't know because he's got a chin of gold. I don't know. But he could maybe get TKO. There's no way he gets a sub. Dricus grappling is so good, but apparently Sean Strickland is. Maybe he does get the sub. Check out the odds. That could be some juicy beef. No one's ever seen Strickland really grapple. No one's seen his submission skills, so we just don't know. But if I had to guess, I think Dricus wins by KO, TKO, or submission. That is the 50-50 chance. I don't think Dricus could even come close to winning decision. If I had to guess, it's a finish by Dricus. It's a mauling beatdown for 5 rounds by Strickland. And it's sad to watch.
Yeah, it could go either way for sure. Strickland we have seen succumb to strikes, but it was a one-punch sleeper slobber knocker from Alex Pereira, who is one of the hardest hitting guys in the UFC and is the champion in a division higher currently. And then early in Strickland's career, he got slept by Alicio Deluski Santos, and it was a spinning wheel kick, pretty gnarly, back in the welterweight Sean days. So his only 2 losses via finish. Maybe Duplessis gives him his third, but you touched on, is Strickland going to be all there mentally? And I do think that a lot of guys, having to deal with the DDP suave and sort of DDP swag factor would get shut down by that. But to me, Sean Strickland seems like a guy who the most comfortable that this guy ever is when he's in a fist fight. And I don't know, I just see all of the talk, all of the stirred stew in the beef being put aside once the lights are flashing brightest for Sean Strickland. And I'm going to roll with the fact that what Sean just did to Izzy was only a few months ago and featured even greater pressure on him potentially. And with that, I think that he's going to rise to the occasion. I think that DDP might have some early moments on Sean, but I got to bank on the fact that Sean is too dialed in to allow DDP to infiltrate his head like that. And in so doing, I got to go Strickland to win by 4th round finish. I think that we're going to see DDP start to wane where he usually does, closer to the 3rd round. And once Strickland can sort of land a flurry of strikes in the 4th, maybe the 5th round, then I see Duplessis going out in this one. But again, I'm not trying to be a DDP hater. I give the guy his respect. I think he's obviously one of the best in the division for sure. So it's not just a hate on DDP pick. I just have to believe that Strickland still has something left and can get it done against DDP. But if Dricus wins this one, I mean, who's going to beat this guy?
That's such a great question, and I just don't know if there is anyone, but maybe Bo Nickel, maybe Body Bags, and that will be exciting to see if those guys get there. But until then, these are the 2 best in the world, and it's so exciting to see that we're already starting with the new year with an absolute banger. No one would have thought that Strickland would be champ. No one would have thought that Dricus would be Robert Whitaker. It's just the MMA lords are telling us 2024 is going to be a wild MMA year. So stay tuned, smash that meat, and freaking subscribe if you haven't already, and turn the notification bell so you don't miss another video.